Hey everyone, it is time for your corrective exercise series. So this is called Movement Essentials, and it's all about exploring those specific exercises that help your body begin to move into this greater state of health. Because we need to make all sorts of changes in our relationship with our body, and these kinds of corrective exercises are a key component to that. So we're going to get to it, and we're gonna bring our hearts with us. We're going to start in a psoas release, and I know that some of you have already done that, but I just want to review it quickly, and then we'll move into it. So this is an exercise that you do lying flat on your back, or lying on your back, bolstered up a bit. Excuse me. So I use these yoga bolster sorts of things. You can use firm cushions, pillows, that kind of thing. You're going to want to bolster yourself up so that the backs of your legs, ideally, are on the ground. If you have to be bolstered to here in order to make that happen, then I wouldn't worry too much about the legs. I'd let that go a little bit. But if you get to here and you find that your knees bend and your legs pop up, then go ahead and bolster maybe a little bit higher. So this is high enough for me. You're going to bring the bolstering so that it comes about down to the bottom of your shoulder blade. You can kind of play around. And I recommend a little something under your head, so you can see where that falls. You let your legs go straight out in front of you. Your ankles are pelvis width. Your feet can relax out if that's how they would fall. I recommend when psoas releasing, we're just going to lie here. That's all we're going to do. When psoas releasing, to sometimes have things to put on top of you, heavy blankets or pillows. You can also bolster up your arms if that would feel good. So the psoas muscles are these two muscles that attach along your spine, your lumbar spine. They wrap through your core, come over the front of your hip, and attach into the top of your thigh bone, into your femur. In most of us, we have just a wee bit of tension that we hold there. We'll be playing around with this throughout the course. But for now, I really want to use it just as a way to check in. So we're here, maybe your ribs will start to drop toward the ground, closing the space here. And we're breathing, allowing for that full exhalation and the reflexive inhalation. You probably know that you can spend a lot of time in a psoas release. And I'm going to recommend that you consider it as part of a regular practice for you. For now, let's use it as a way to check in, a way to settle our nervous system a little bit so we can take in some new information. All of the exercises that we're about to do may be totally new to you. Some of them may be new, or maybe you've done them all. And yet your experience of it this time is unique and special. And so let's prepare ourselves to have a new experience of our bodies. If you'd like, you can set an intention. And why don't you find a spot, open your eyes if they're closed, and find a spot in front of you that's easy for your eyes to rest on. And on your next exhalation, can you hum? And keeping your eyes open, can you swallow? Nice. So, excuse me. So for now, I've got this cold that just wants to hang on. We're gonna gently come out of that, and you can return to a psoas release at the end of this practice or at any time if you need a little bit of respite and a way to check in. For today's class, a dome, foam dome, any size you want, whatever you use. If you don't use a dome, then you can have a rolled up towel or something like that, or a rolled up mat would work wonderfully. All right, let's get to it. So to review, since we're doing a lot of standing corrective exercises today, I want to review basic stance really quickly because we're going to use that. So you're going to have your ankles pelvis width, right, directly under your ASIS, your anterior superior iliac spines, and we're going to focus on feet straight. Sometimes we're going to tend to this weight back over the heels. So keep that in mind as we go. So go ahead and snag your dome. You're going to let's bring our right foot. You can hear my old hardwood floors. You're going to bring your right foot up onto the dome. When you do a calf stretch, so let's be clear that I've got some tight calves. You're going to want a straight leg, no bend in the knee, no bend in either knee. If you have nice, long, luscious calves, you might step forward a lot, yeah. Now, my guess is, I'm going to find a new spot where this is not so noisy. My guess is that if you step really far forward, you're having to hold on in some ways. Maybe your pelvis tucks under, or your your quadriceps are really firing, or something like that. So see if you can just find a place where you can relax. You're upright, you're not falling forward, you're not gripping to hold yourself. And so here we are. Go ahead and switch sides. I'm going to face forward. So we bring your left foot up. Notice here, and you're keeping your ankles pelvis width, right? And the outside edges of your feet are still parallel, even if your feet are not right next to each other. Notice here if you can wiggle your kneecaps. So maybe you can and maybe you can't. And if you can't, that's something to work toward. So you want to begin to let go of some of the tension that you hold on to in the front of the leg. And I use the word let go in sort of a sometimes it's something to just let go of, and sometimes we need a lot of work in order for that to happen. So that depends kind of on where you are and what's creating the tension patterns in your body. So now let's go ahead and do a forward bend or a double calf stretch. We're not going to use a dome for this. So I want you to just get the outside edges of your feet parallel, your ankles are pelvis width. We're going to send our hips back. Excuse me. So if you did the flow class, then you have experienced this full forward fold, right? But here we're only going to hinge as far as we can without our spine moving. So this is all about the movement that you have available in the hip. So we're allowing the hamstrings to lengthen here. So if your hamstrings won't lengthen anymore, then you could complete the movement by doing this kind of spinal, having all the action here. But instead, we're just going to hang out at the end of our hamstrings. So come back up. And let's do that again. So you're gonna hinge forward. You can feel the crease close here. If you're trying to figure out when does my pelvis stop moving, you can put your hand here, that can work, right? And you're just gonna hang out at your end range of motion. And here, can you lift and lower your kneecaps? In order to do this, your hips are gonna need to shift back. And so go ahead using the backs of the legs, bring yourself up. Let's go ahead and send a foot back. So we're going to stretch the top of the feet. Some of us have a whole lot of tension through the top of the feet, so you might find that you can tolerate this for just a moment or two, and that's fine. Come in and out of it as you need to. Notice if you're pitching yourself forward, maybe instead of doing that, to take the weight off, see if you could just bring your foot a little bit more forward. And I'll show you this from the front too. So again, we start in our basic stance, outside edges of the feet parallel, ankles, pelvis width. I'm gonna come off the mat a little bit here. And send that foot back. So you're keeping it in the same channel. Can you lift and lower the kneecap of the straight leg? If you're having trouble staying balanced, absolutely hold on to something. No need to not hold on to something. A wall, a chair, counter. All right, and gently come out of that. Let's do another calf stretch. So, stretching the calves, we're working on sort of getting a little length here, right? So again, you're gonna pelvis width, outside edges parallel. I recommend, especially because most of us have been in some sort of heeled shoe, sneakers included, I recommend that you calf stretch regularly. So this is one of those exercises that you can do. I mean, this morning I was calf stretching as I was, I don't know, making something for breakfast, you know, like that it's, I have these domes in the kitchen, in the bathroom, in my studio. I do it while I type, but at my standing desk. So this is a good one. This is a good one to kind of work in outside of kind of exercise class. Go ahead and switch sides. So you're getting for most of us, you'll be able to get the ball of the foot up onto the apex of the dome. The heel is firmly down. So you want to be able to wiggle your toes. You don't want to be leaning, having so much weight moving forward that you're kind of crushing the dome. So you leave the weight in the heels. Can you lift and lower your kneecaps? It becomes like a party trick. And notice how you're trying to hold yourself here. Just as something to notice, what's working, what's not. Let's go ahead and bring both feet up on the dome. Outside edges parallel, ankles, pelvis width. We're gonna hinge forward into this double calf stretch, this time using the dome. So go ahead and shift your hips back. Allow the torso to come forward. Only coming as far as you can with your pelvis articulating. So this is particularly great for, you know, so most of the time we're sitting, right? That's probably a big part of your life. And so we get a lot of shortness in the hamstrings here. When we think about standing up, we think about taking our place in the world, we need length and we need strength. And so this sort of exercise where you're, you know, the hamstrings are working to hold us up while they're simultaneously lengthening is tremendously valuable to creating some change in the body. And in particular here, we're going to really think about using the backs of the legs. So if you can relax your kneecaps, keep them relaxed, fully straight leg, and come on up. Nice. All right, so we're going to come down to the ground. And you are going to lie on your side. I'm going to adjust my microphone a little bit. We're going to go, especially with this haircut, this is like a full-on 80s workout we're going to get going here. So I call these lateral leg raises. And so you're going to get yourself relatively straight. Maybe your upper body's kind of angled a little bit, curved a little bit forward. And so we're essentially doing this, right? So seriously, you've probably seen this in some workout video from some time in your youth. I want you to keep a couple of things in mind. So your ASIS, these two bony knobs in the front of your hip, stack them vertically. So make sure one's not coming, that your top one's not hiking, or it's not rolling back behind you or rolling forward. So you're just gonna keep it really well stacked. So let's go ahead. I might need a little break here for some water. All right, so I've got my water and we're gonna see if that can help me with the coughing that I've got going on. All right, so lateral leg raises. So here we are lying down and you're on your side. You've got your two bony knobs, your ASI is stacked, and you're gonna go ahead and lift just your top leg. So here I'm working on the right side, yeah. And I want you to think about bringing the heel up first. So we talked a little bit about internal and external rotation of the femur, and here we're gonna work in internal rotation for a bit. So if your heel is coming up first, then your femur is internally rotated, yeah. But that's gonna enable you to better turn off the muscles in the front of the hip. And you can put your hand, your fingers right here, and notice if these muscles are working really hard, or if maybe they can stay relaxed, and you kind of should be on fire back here. That's my guess about what's happening about now. Move really slowly. This is one of my favorite things to do. And by favorite, I mean vaguely torturous. All right, let's just do one more on this side. All right, and go ahead and switch sides. All right, so again, here we are. We got our ASI stacked, bony knob here, bony knob there. And go ahead and begin to lift and lower. Really thinking about using the back of the body here, right? So into the glutes. We're really firing the glutes, and the lateral hip rotators, all this good stuff. And probably the best place to start is with this heel coming out first. So if you turn and you can try this, if you turn your toes up, you might find that the front kicks in a little bit more and it's harder to access the back. So just go ahead and let's play this way for now. Notice if your ribs keep wanting to help. Mine always do. Maybe they can just kind of relax a little bit. And you'll notice that your hip will want to shift up to kind of take the effort out, yeah? And so you can just keep sending the pelvis down as the leg comes up. We'll do one more here. And then we're gonna pop up again, all right? All right, so we're gonna get into some of those same muscles, just doing a different exercise. So this is called the monster walk. So you're gonna stand in your basic stance, ankles pelvis width, outside edges parallel. And we're gonna do a little bit of side walking, yeah? So here, we are, you're still gonna keep the outside edges of your feet parallel. Send the hip out first. Send the heel out first. I don't know how you send the hip out first. When you bring your feet back together, they're only gonna come as close as they would be in your basic stance. So you're not bringing your feet all the way together, right? Maybe your heel can land first instead of your forefoot. Might depend on your calf tension. So this should be firing in sort of the same place. Notice too, are you teeter-tottering? We want to kind of take some of that movement out and instead have a little bit more stability, working with the leg abduction. I always have to see the letters in my head. The AB instead of the AD. So there's no bend in the knee here. We're doing this with a vertical leg. Let's come back. You might be a little sore tomorrow, depending on how much of this is part of your life. All right, Let's do a double calf stretch. So squeak, squeak, squeak. Oh my goodness. All right, here we are. Outside edges parallel. Ankles pelvis width. And you're going to go ahead and you are going to hinge at the hips. It probably feels good to take a little break. Notice if you are still holding. So every once in a while, we'll have this tendency to just move into a position and yet not really give ourselves to it. And so see it, can you give yourself to this position? Can you offer yourself, can you offer your hamstrings the work? Because they're capable. They're capable. That's a part of building relationship with ourselves, is allowing new body parts to work, giving them the opportunity to do that. Can you lift and lower your kneecaps? All right, let's come back down to the ground. Let's go to that first side. Taking the water. I'm moving this so it doesn't bump the microphone if you're trying to figure out why I'm obsessed with my strings. All right, so stacking the hips again. So as I mentioned, we're kind of leading out with the heel here. And so go ahead and begin these movements slowly, sending the sending the pelvis away from you, imagining that. And we're lifting this heel, but I talked about internal and external rotation in the basic stance portion previously, and in the basic stance video, and I raised that because sometimes we want to work more in external rotation. And so you can play around here if you kind of have this level of practice where you can do your lateral leg raises. If you can turn this off a bit, not working the front of the leg, and instead send it here with your knee more in neutral, your femur in neutral, then you can go ahead and play with that a bit too. You might not move so far though. But wherever you are, whatever you're playing with, I invite you to check in with your pelvic floor. Notice what it's doing. What's happening with your breath? What's happening with your thoughts? What is it you're telling yourself about yourself as you do these movements? Switch sides. I think that that's a really key component, is this bit of self-talk that we get going, yeah? Like, I don't even want to go on about that. Mostly what I want to say is, how can this be an act of love? How can doing these movements be an act of love? So, just a couple more here. I didn't want to get into a whole nother thought. Maybe one more. All right, let's do some more monster walking. So our glutes. Our glutes are these super underused parts on most of us. And when we sort of put them under the categories with, like, the gluteus maximus, we're all up on that. And then we have our lateral hip rotators, and these would include the lesser glutes, the medius and minimus. And so when we talk about this ability to stand with your weight in your heels, I find that getting some of the strength here in the lateral hips is essential. So the lateral leg raises and this monster walk here are going to support you in that. They're going to support you in keeping your weight back in your heels, and that's going to be really, really useful when you want to take that out for a walk, when you want to begin to really make good use of this part of your body and nourish it. And I'm just going to walk back to center. So let's go ahead and do a top of the foot stretch. So here you can think about your heel not rolling out to the side. It's not rolling out to the side, it's not rolling in. We're just gonna go straight on. So hide the heel if you had a mirror in front of you. And let's go ahead and switch sides. In a lot of my work, I highly recommend the use of a mirror, and that would be useful for you too. In a lot of ways, this course it's the bigger picture stuff. And so I would love for you to use a mirror to check your alignment and to check how you do some of these movements. And I don't want you to get hung up on that either. So if it doesn't become an objective tool that causes you to feel shame or less than or something like that, then please go use a mirror. And if it becomes challenging for you, then I'd rather you just kind of practice being in your body for a bit first. And you can come out of that. I'm gonna have a sip of water, and we're gonna end with a little bit of toe work, because we wanna get some more mobility in our feet. So here's what I'm gonna have you do. You're gonna have all 10 toes down. I'm gonna have you press your big toe into the ground and lift all of your other toes. Let's hang out here for a minute. Not a full minute, just a moment. And then lower your toes. Can you lift your big toes? Can they reach toward each other? Oh, wait. Mine kind of can. My fingers are moving. You might notice your fingers move. That's really normal. All right, big toes down. Other toes up. Pinky, so we're gonna keep the big toes down. Pinky toes down, pinky toes up. So fifth toe down, fourth toe down. Fourth toe up. Pinky toe up. Pinky toes down, fourth toe down. Third toe down, third toes up, fourth toe up, fifth toe up, fifth toe down, fourth down, third down, second down, second toe up, third toe up, fourth toe up, fifth toe up, all the toes up. Feels good right now. And all the toes down. So I just moved through that really fast. And that if you've not done any toe work, then maybe that's sort of like, what? Do your toes actually move separately? And they kind of do. And the more you do it, the more they'll move. Mine hardly did anything separately when I started. So that is it. That is it for this class. You can take these into your life and begin to play with them and apply them. Especially the things that were hard for you, I recommend that you work in every day, calf stretch several times a day, and see what else you can bring in that would be really nourishing. If it would feel good at this time, I invite you to snag a psoas release to just close out your practice and honor the work that you have done.